Mira had always loved her quiet, peaceful neighborhood. The streets were lined with blooming trees, kids played in the park, and neighbors exchanged warm smiles. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, or so Mira thought. Her daily routine rarely changed. Morning coffee on her porch, a jog around the park, and occasional chats with her friendly neighbors. The only odd thing about her street was her new neighbor, Arjun, who had recently moved into the house next door. Unlike the rest of the neighborhood, Arjun kept to himself. He rarely greeted anyone and was always seen coming or going at odd hours. He was a mystery, and Mira's curiosity grew each day. I wonder what he's hiding, she thought to herself, watching him from her window one evening as he unloaded several heavy boxes from his car. One night, as Mira was getting ready for bed, she heard a strange noise coming from Arjun's house. It was faint at first, like the sound of scraping metal, but it grew louder and more unsettling. She tried to ignore it, but her imagination ran wild. Was he working on something dangerous, or was it something worse? The next morning, she mentioned it to her neighbor, Mrs. Sharma, while they were gardening. "Did you hear anything strange from Arjun's house last night?" Mira asked. Mrs. Sharma shook her head. "No, but I've always thought there was something odd about him. He never talks to anyone. Who knows what he's up to?" Mira laughed nervously, but her curiosity deepened. What could Arjun possibly be doing at such odd hours? A few days later, as Mira was taking out the trash, she ran into Arjun. He was standing by his car looking tense, as if he was in a hurry. For a moment, their eyes met, and Mira decided to break the ice. "Hi, I'm Mira. I live next door," she said with a warm smile. Arjun hesitated before replying. "Arjun," he said, simply nodding. "So, how are you settling in? Need any help?" she asked, trying to sound friendly. "No, I'm fine," he said quickly, looking away. Before Mira could say anything else, Arjun got into his car and drove off, leaving her standing there with more questions than answers. Later that week, Mira noticed something unusual while jogging past Arjun's house. A small piece of paper was stuck in the bushes near his driveway. She picked it up out of curiosity. It was an old, faded photograph of a young woman. On the back, there was a handwritten note. "I'll always find you. R." Mira's heart raced. Who was the woman? And who was R? Was this connected to Arjun's secretive behavior? She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She decided to keep the photo, unsure if she should confront Arjun about it or wait to gather more information. That evening, Mira received an unexpected knock on her door. When she opened it, Arjun was standing there, his expression serious. "Did you take something from my yard?" he asked, his tone sharp. Mira froze for a moment before replying. "I found this," she said, holding up the photograph. "It was in the bushes by your driveway." Arjun's eyes darkened as he snatched the photo from her hand. "Stay out of my business, Mira. This doesn't concern you," he said coldly before walking away. Mira felt a chill run down her spine. What was Arjun hiding, and why was he so protective of the photograph? That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the conversation with Arjun in her mind. Something about his reaction made her feel like the photograph was more important than he let on. Around midnight, she heard the strange noise again, scraping metal followed by faint thuds. This time it was louder and more alarming. Unable to resist, Mira grabbed her phone and peeked out her window. She saw Arjun in his backyard digging a large hole. Her heart raced. Why would he be digging in the middle of the night? Was he hiding something? Or worse, burying something? Mira decided she had to find out. The next morning, Mira knocked on Arjun's door. She was determined to get answers, no matter how uncomfortable the conversation might be. When Arjun opened the door, he looked surprised. "What do you want?" he asked. "Arjun, I heard you last night," Mira said firmly. "I know you were digging in your backyard. What's going on? Are you in trouble?" Arjun's face hardened. "You need to stop asking questions. You don't understand what's at stake." "Then explain it to me," Mira said, her voice rising. You're not just some mysterious neighbor. I've seen the photo, I've heard the noises, and now you're digging holes in the middle of the night. What's going on?" For a moment, Arjun said nothing. Then, with a heavy sigh, he stepped aside and gestured for Mira to come in. Inside Arjun's house, Mira noticed stacks of documents, maps, and old photographs spread across the table. Arjun sat down and ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't want to involve you," he began, "but I can see you're not going to let this go." He held up the photograph Mira had found. "This is my sister, Priya. She disappeared 2 years ago. The police closed the case, but I know she's still out there. Someone took her, and I've been trying to find her ever since." Mira's heart sank. "The digging, the noises, is that all part of your search?" Arjun nodded. "I've been following clues she left behind. This house belonged to someone connected to her disappearance. I bought it to get closer to the truth." "Why didn't you just tell me?" Mira asked, her voice soft. "Because the people who took Priya are dangerous," Arjun said. "I didn't want to put you in harm's way." Despite Arjun's warning, Mira couldn't walk away. "I want to help," she said firmly. "No, Mira," Arjun replied. "This isn't your fight. You could get hurt." "But you can't do this alone," Mira argued. "If Priya left clues, maybe I can help you find them." Arjun hesitated but eventually agreed. Together they went through Priya's belongings, piecing together fragments of her life before she disappeared. Each clue brought them closer to understanding what had happened. One night, while going through an old diary of Priya's, they found a name, Ramesh. He was someone Priya had mentioned frequently in her entries, describing him as both charming and manipulative. "That's it," Arjun said. "Ramesh was the last person to see Priya. He's the one I've been tracking." Using the address Priya had written down, Arjun and Mira decided to confront Ramesh. They drove to a remote house on the outskirts of town, their nerves on edge. When they arrived, Ramesh tried to deny everything, but Arjun's persistence and the evidence they presented forced him to confess. Priya had uncovered illegal activities Ramesh was involved in, and he had threatened her to keep her quiet. Though Ramesh claimed he didn't know where Priya was now, his confession gave Arjun the breakthrough he needed to reopen the case. With Ramesh's confession, the police reopened the investigation. Though Priya's whereabouts were still unknown, Arjun and Mira felt a renewed sense of hope. They knew they were closer than ever to finding her. In the days that followed, Mira and Arjun grew closer. Their shared mission had forged a bond between them, and Mira realized that sometimes the truth is worth fighting for, no matter how dangerous it may be. As she sat on her porch one evening, Mira smiled to herself. She had once thought her neighborhood was peaceful and ordinary, but now she knew the truth. It was full of secrets waiting to be uncovered.